What's up, everybody? My name is Sid, and I've teamed up with the big homie Reg to bring y'all something new, something we like to call Beyond the Scoreboard. Y'all be sure to review, rate, and subscribe. Let's get to it. So what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard. Y'all know me, Sid. What's going on, Reg?
Sid, how you doing, man? Doing great, bro.
Everything good, bruh. So here we are. We finally reached the end of the NFL season. It definitely seems like it flew by, honestly. Our New Orleans Saints ended up taking on the Carolina Panthers in a game that meant a lot for us when it comes to getting the number one seed, but not too much to them. So what is it that you saw from that game?
Going in, I didn't expect much from Carolina. Carolina has been struggling with a lot of issues offensively and defensively all year, so I knew it wasn't going to get any better week 17 against one of the better teams in football. So I thought they would have they'll take a couple shots with their receivers downfield, move the ball, and make it. I wouldn't say make it a close game, but just make it seem as if they're better than what they showed 7 points.
Yeah.
But that wasn't even the case. They really struggled, and I had no idea they were going to pull, Teddy would get hurt and they would just play their backup quarterback and some of the rest of their backup guys in skill positions, which caused the game to get ugly. And at one point, it seemed like we wasn't even trying and we still was scoring. So to me, it just was a great New Orleans Saints team, a team that obviously made the playoffs, finished second overall in the NFC versus a team that only had a handful of wins this whole season.
And this pretty much played out how I said it would last week on the show. I figured that it wasn't going to be much of a contest.
Right.
I said that Drew probably wouldn't play the second half or the fourth quarter, which if they really didn't want him to, he wouldn't have. If he wasn't type of competitive that he wouldn't have. No running backs, no problem. Like this was, and once again, the Panthers, there was no reason for them to go out there and put anybody's health or anything on the line because they weren't playing for anything. So
correct.
They came out with the intentions of making it a game, and once it got away from him, it got away from him.
Right.
And like you say, they were good with that. We were good with that. Another good showing for Drew Brees coming up off that injury, so that's a good thing going into the playoffs. But like you say, wasn't too much to take from this game. The Carolina Panthers are, I don't want to say that they are a bad team, but at this point in the season, injuries have really torn that team apart. It started with Christian McCaffrey at the beginning of the season, and ever since then, people had been dropping left and right. And yesterday they didn't have Mike Davis or McCaffrey, so it's they're just not a bad. I don't want to say they're a bad team, but they know what they have to fix going forward, and they're gonna work on that. But this was a lost season for them.
Yep. And I will go as far as saying they are a bad team.
Yeah,
I feel like that they are one of the worst teams in the NFL. And I'm not even sure if it gets better soon. Because Teddy only has one more year on his contract.
I think they draft a quarterback.
You think they take a quarterback? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, Teddy would, like I said in the offseason, Teddy to me was the perfect bridge quarterback for a number of teams. Yep. So, I mean, that situation will work itself out. However, they got a long way to go, especially if the Saints continue to have success if Drew Brees decide to walk away after this season.
Yeah. And we'll definitely be talking about that later on too. So let's move into Sunday overall. We both expressed how it was kind of disappointing. We thought
very disappointing, man.
We thought week
very
17 was going to be this real intriguing week of football because of the playoff implications that were involved, and of course most of the matches are divisional matchups in week 17 these days.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And all of that fell flat on its face. The one game that really was competitive and really interesting was one that didn't matter really much at all, which was the Tennessee-Houston game.
Yep.
But outside of that, all the rest of the games really seemed to fall on its face, including the Sunday night game. But there were some interesting things that went on surrounding that game and throughout that game that made it worth talking about. So Sunday night, Philadelphia hosted Washington. Um, Washington, you win, you're in the playoffs. You lose, and the Giants get in.
Man.
Philly starts the game looking like they're putting themselves into a position to be competitive and actually win this football game.
Yep.
And it could be argued that at the point that they decided to start benching players and seeing what they had in their reserves, they still had a chance to win the game at that point.
They did. They had a very good chance of still winning that game.
Exactly. So that's the confusing part of it for me. How did you see it?
So I was very upset because, like the rest of the world, I'm still judging Jalen Hurts. And I feel like this was one of the games where you could put him in a situation and show the rest of the world why you have faith in him and why you chose to, ride with him over Carson Wentz for the remainder of the year. So the way I looked at it, obviously Philly didn't have much to play for. They just was playing spoiler. Yep. So if they would have said, look, Hurts is our guy, we're not putting him out there. We've seen enough this year to say we're comfortable moving forward. We're not playing him this game. That's cool. That's fine. I get it. Great. However, they decided to play him, which means we're trying to win. If you're trying to win, why not play the rest of you guys? DJ, Alshon Jeffries, all the rest of these guys that didn't play that was still healthy enough to play, why not still play those guys? It was a 14-17 game when Philly decided to go for it, which I'm like, man, take the field goal. Obviously, this is going to be a close game. You take the field goal here, you could potentially come back in the late fourth quarter, kick another field goal and win the game. But not only did he take out Hurts, he took out everybody. Yeah. And my thing is, what are we playing for? Why did we travel? You could have left us in street clothes like Carson Wentz was pretty much, or just tell us don't even come. It was bizarre. I don't get it. I don't understand it because even the players are starting to express, their discomfort with it. Miles Sanders was like, bro, it didn't sit well with none of us. We all wanted to play to win. The only thing that makes sense, and I mean the only thing, is if they looked at it and said, look, sure, we could win this game, but it doesn't mean anything. We're not going to the playoffs. If we win, we are drafted 9th. If we lose, we draft 6th. If they would have looked at it like that from beginning and didn't play anyone and said, we're going to lose, go ahead, Washington, go to the playoffs, we're going to take this 6th overall selection, I'm fine. To me, it just made no sense to possibly get Hurts or anybody else out there hurt and play them for half of football. That's how I saw it.
Exactly, and I 100% agree with that. You can't tell me that it dawned on him 3/4 through the game that if we lose this game, we get a better draft. So you knew that going into the game.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you either go into the game saying we're going to evaluate talent, or we're going to put our guys out there and win. Because if you're going to evaluate talent, like you say, you start Sutfield from the beginning. You start these reserves from the beginning of the game.
And what was so crazy, even when he was asked about his decision after the game, he says, well, I played to win. I wanted to see something out of whatever the backup quarterback name was. And I mean, all that good stuff. Well, why pull everybody?
Yeah.
Why pull one of the highest paid corners in football, which is basically your only corner, only playing the secondary for that matter? Why pull your offensive line, which is already a bad offensive line? They showed that those guys had in between 140 to 170 snaps together combined, playing with the whole season, and that's only about 2 games.
Yeah.
And some of those guys that's involved in that start lineup are already backups. So you're gonna pull second string guys to play third and fourth string guys, and you're gonna tell America you was playing to win. Man, stop it.
Yeah, and once again, that was another game that didn't live up to any of the expectations we had for Week 17.
0.
But it did end up providing an interesting storyline afterwards.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so Week 17's over with. Now we're looking at the playoffs.
Before we move on, I have a quick question for you. If you Philly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you keep Doug or do you move on?
Personally, I think I would probably move on
Me too. After that,
because after that, you've caused yourself the locker room. Even if you
mhm,
weren't, winning games like that, it seemed like he still had the support and he had
right.
the support of the locker room. And after that, man, like you say, so many players came out saying, man, we were just as upset by the decision and confused about the decision as everybody else
Yep.
was. So yeah, I think I would move on from him at that point.
Definitely agree with you.
So looking into wild card weekend. This year we have 6 games instead of 4. We got 6 games instead of 4. We got 3 each day. Um, of course, we're going to start with the Chicago Bears visiting the New Orleans Saints.
Yep.
And then we'll go on to preview and predict every game, every other game. But of course, that's what we're going to start. Bears Saints. I want to say the Saints have the biggest. They have the biggest point spread for this weekend. I think it opened at 9.5. It might be up to
I saw
10
eight
now.
and a half. Okay.
Yeah. So they got the Saints. They're giving the Saints 10. I mean, Saints are -10. So, how do you see this one playing out?
So I don't know if you remember, but I want to say it was week 16. I text you and I said I want the Bears.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that was week 16. I think this is the perfect team that the Saints need to play right now. We need because we wanted to buy. If you're not going to get the buy, let's get the weakest opponent available. So, and I feel like that's what the Bears are as of right now. You got a quarterback that's going to be playing against a pretty good defense, one of the best defenses in football, and he's not accurate. You don't have to fear the deep ball, and he don't have a lot at the skill positions. In fact, the guys that he do have are dealing with injuries. I know it's the end of the year and everybody got nagging injuries,
Yeah.
but some of their bigger guys that play huge roles, they have real deal injuries. Allen Robinson had a pretty good game against Lattimore. He's a great route runner. Allen Robinson had another pretty good year for the Bears at the receiver position, but he has a hamstring injury that he went into the game with week 17. And just looking at him, he didn't look like himself. Mooney, they down the field threat at the receiver position. He had an ankle injury. He went out week 17 and he did not return. Even on the defensive side of the ball, Roquan Smith, who's a great linebacker, he went out with a dislocated elbow, what they believe. He did not return. Who else? Russell Shrine, who play a lot of DB outside and nickel for him in the slot. He missed the last 3 or 4 games with a concussion.
Yeah.
So this isn't the time or this isn't the team who you want to be dealing with all of those injuries going against Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. I don't want to say this will be a easy win because I feel like the way we're going to play is slow, right? We're not a high pace, high tempo type team. We don't really go to the hurry up offense and all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be slow, and that's depending on what shape our running backs are in. If we're getting those guys back and the whole 9. But even if Alvin Kamara plays, Murray still banged up. Not sure if he's going to play that saying. But even if we get Kamara, we're still going to run the ball, milk the clock, things of that nature, which in the back of my mind, the thing that's always there with our team is if we go out there and turn the ball over even 1 or 2 times with the way we play, it can be very dangerous. I understand it's the Bears. But
Yeah.
like you say, you've seen crazier things happen in the NFL. So I'm going to take the Saints only because I have such little confidence in Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Saints. Drew Brees have been playing great if you look at numbers, if you look at completion percentages and things of that nature. However, Drew Brees, the last few games, he's thrown a ball or 2 that should have been interceptions that teams have not caught.
Yeah.
And this is not the time to be doing that, because that's kind of what he do in the playoffs. So if we can not turn the ball over, we'll be okay.
And that's going to be the biggest thing. And once again, we're playing a team who doesn't cause many turnovers, so that's definitely a plus. Looking at the initial injury reports, I see 4 people that's actually listed as out between the two teams. Josh Hill, Marcus Williams, they're out. Buster Skrine, and I think his name's Josh Johnson, another corner
Yeah.
for Chicago. He's
Yep.
out. And then they have about 5 other players who are questionable, but our injury report ends with those 2 players who are already marked as out. So, like you say, everybody has injuries this point of the season. It just matters who can play more through them, honestly.
Right.
So they say Michael Thomas is supposed to be up for Sunday, so we're supposed to be getting him back. Like you say, everybody else that we're worried about are people who are basically on the COVID list right now, and I think only one of them had tested positive, which was Kamara. I think everybody else was considered close contact to either him or somebody else, because I know Gardner Johnson found himself on that list as well last week.
Right.
So all those guys should be back. So we should basically be at full strength going into this game, maybe minus Alvin Kamara. And even minus Alvin Kamara, if we have Latavius Murray, we're fine.
But see, they're saying that he's banged up too. Well, that the injury report I saw, they were saying that he's hurt as well, and he's not 100%. They're not 100% that he's ready to go as well.
Okay, yeah, and I've never seen anything about him having an injury. I just saw him pop up because of the COVID contact tracing. So we're gonna see about that.
Yep.
But yeah, man, this, like you say, this is the favorable matchup that the Saints wanted. This is, like you say, this is probably the weakest. Well,
you don't think so? I think this is by far the weakest NFC. But I would almost want to play them before I play Washington.
Yeah, I was about to say it's out of them in Washington, and you know how I feel about Washington's defense. I really like their defense. I think they have a better defense than Chicago's, and I definitely trust Alex Smith more than I trust Trubisky or Foles, to be honest.
One leg. Yep, I definitely agree with you, man. Alex Smith, he doesn't look like him old self. You can tell that he's still timid about his leg being touched. But however, I trust Alex Smith getting rid of the ball quick like they did week 17 more than I trust Trubisky.
100%. So I definitely see this. And once again, they're already not a deep team. And then when you look at defense and you're going to tell me that 2 of their corners not going to play, that's trouble for them. And then you have 2 of your safeties on the injury report too. This matchup, even at full health, this is a game where I can look at it and be like, oh, Chicago can pull this out. So even with these injuries and the fact that we've had such a good season, even without the consistency and the fluidness of having all our players throughout the season, if you want to look at it, man, this whole season has been pretty much a hot streak for us. After the first 2-3 games. So I think we're in a good position going into the playoffs, and we couldn't have gotten a better opponent. So I think we're going to cover that 10, even if it's a late field goal that puts us over. But I don't ever see this being a game we're looking at and feeling like we got the opportunity to lose it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, so the first game on Saturday is the Indianapolis Colts traveling to the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are minus 6.5 in this game. Looking at their injury report, I see Robertson not gonna play. That's big for the Colts. Robertson not gonna play, and Willis not gonna play. Their strong safety. Both of them got concussions. That's tough. And Buffalo's gonna be missing Cole Beasley.
Yep. Which is that's pretty significant for Buffalo.
Yeah. So how do you see this one playing out?
If anybody talk football with me this year, they know how big I am on the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo, besides Kansas City, the Bills have been the team that I have been bragging about, and I have been drawing more and more confidence each Sunday I see them. They went through the stretch early in the year when they was just putting up points like they was KC pretty much. Josh Allen was on another level. Then he came back down to earth, and then he woke up again. And I mean, he's still scorching hot right now.
Yeah.
Josh Allen has had a phenomenal year. He's in the MVP race. I don't expect him to win it, but he's there.
Yeah.
He's been one of the better quarterbacks, top 4, top 5 QB in the league, and he's making it look so easy. This kid has a strong arm. He can move. He could run through a backer, pick up a first down. And he has a great receiver in Diggs, who leads the lead in just about almost everything this year.
Yeah.
So I'm taking Buffalo. I still have enough faith in Buffalo. They're not as good as last year's Buffalo's defense. However, they're still good enough to get enough stops to let Josh Allen put up points and win a ball game. The only way I see the Colts winning this game is going to come down to Jonathan Taylor making some plays. The Colts going to have to continue to have a running game like they did Week 17. Yep. He's not going to go for 200, nothing crazy like that. But he's going to have to be effective in order to even keep this game close, to be honest. Really? I think if they don't get nothing out of their run game, I can see Buffalo winning this game by 10.
Yeah, and I see this game being closer. I see this being a game where we look up in the fourth quarter and it may be a field goal or a touchdown game.
Yeah.
And there being an opportunity for the Colts, because for me, what it's going to come down to is, for one, like you said, the run game of the Colts. Jonathan Taylor picked up late in the season, and he's been rolling ever since. He's been very solid since, and their defense has been top notch all season. The Colts are going to go out there and they're going to play defense. That's one thing that they're for sure going to do. The difference between Josh Allen this year and last year is that somehow he's become more accurate. He's become a more accurate quarterback. The thing that hasn't left is that Brett Favre in him that has him taking more chances than what he really should be sometimes with the football. That can translate to turnovers. If the Colts can capitalize on him making some of those bad decisions of, let me try to fit this in here instead of let me just throw this one in the dirt and live to play again, then the Colts can because not only do the Colts force turnovers, they get it in the end zone off of those forced turnovers. So if the Colts can force turnovers, they absolutely can win this game. But I do think overall Buffalo is the better team, especially on offense. So if they can bottle up Jonathan Taylor a good bit and force Phillip Rivers to have to find the Michael Pittman and T.Y. Hiltons of the world, I think Buffalo's defense can keep off a passing attack from the Colts. So, I do see Buffalo winning this game, and I think they got the point spread right. I think it'll be by a touchdown.
And you know what? It's interesting that you said that. I won't spend too much time on it, but it's interesting you said that about Josh Allen, because I feel like that has been the biggest improvement of his game, is not putting the ball in harm's way. If you look at it this year, I mean, I'm not looking at nothing in front of me, but I think he finished with about 37 touchdowns or so, and maybe 11, 12 interceptions.
Yeah, I think it was just 10. I think he finished with 10. Yeah,
and that's a huge improvement to what he had last year. And not only that, he's accurate throwing the ball downfield. It's not the 5 and 7 yard routes. He's accurate on these 20+ yard throws that he's making. The only concern that I have with Josh Allen is once he get in the red zone. To me, that's when he turns back into that Brett Favre, let me take this chance, or I got the strongest arm in the league, let me thread this needle. Yeah. That's when he turned. That's my only concern with him, is once he's in the red zone.
And see, to me, watching him, his decision-making hasn't really improved from last year. The difference is he's become more accurate on those passes, so that, that allows him to be like, oh, let me take this chance because I know I can do it now, even more so than last year, because I'm accurate enough. But also because Stephon Diggs is going to make a play on that ball, because a lot of it is to him. 129 receptions this year. Let me just get it out there to Stephon Diggs. He's going to come down with it,
And you know what? We talk about Josh Allen, because that's what this whole MVP with the quarterbacks are all about, people looking at yards and touchdowns and all that. But what I like about Josh Allen is he's done all this and he's been pulled out of 2 or 3 games this year.
Yeah.
Even the fourth quarter, I don't think he played none of the fourth quarter. I don't think he played after halftime. I don't think he started the game at halftime because they were up 28.
Talking about Sunday?
Yeah.
He didn't play. He didn't play.
He didn't at all.
He played. He started the game at wide receiver, so the loss wouldn't go on his quarterback record just in case they lost. He started the game at wide receiver. He didn't play Sunday. Matt Barkley started and ran that whole game.
Maybe I'm thinking about week 16.
Yeah, Matt Barkley ran the whole game Sunday.
Okay. You got me about to look this up.
Yeah, because I'm trying to make sure I'm not tripping now.
I think you're wrong because he threw that touchdown on the pass interference.
He did play.
I'm about to say, because I was texting Herm. He threw 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, and then McKenzie, and then McKenzie got the kick return to make it 21-7 or 21. 21-7. Yeah, he didn't suit up after halftime.
Because I knew for sure that he started the game at wide receiver, though. Like, so the loss would go on his record if it went that way.
I was about to say, man. Well, you had me going for a quick second.
But yeah, so we both got the Bills there.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Right now, we on the same path there. So the second game of Saturday would be the Rams and the Seahawks. Another week where we got to sit here and discuss an NFC West that is
I'm not falling for it. I'm not falling for it. I'm not getting hyped up. Because on paper, this looked like such a good game. I'm not falling for it, bro.
I don't think there's been a good NFC West game this season. Nope. Like a division game, I don't think. Because this game can go either way.
Yep.
So Seahawks are -4.
Mm-hmm. They're -4?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Like they should be. First of all, is golf playing? I'm more than sure golf is going to play. He's not. He's not?
They say he's not because it's only 12 days away since his surgery. They're saying it's most likely going to be the backup again this week.
Ooh. Yeah, it's hard to go against. It's hard to go against Seattle. Then I still think it's going to be a slow, ugly game.
Oh, of course.
It's just you got to pick. Are you going to lay your head on a good defense, or are you going to lay your head on one of the best quarterbacks in football?
Yeah.
And I have no choice but to go with Russell Wilson in this one. They're home. The Rams offense, they're good, but they don't scare anybody, and that's even Seattle having a bad defense.
Yeah.
But
and then once again, if there's no Jared Goff, then that makes it
I'll go ahead and take the Hawks. -4 because if Russell Wilson do come out and he put up 10 quick points and we're looking at a 10-0 ball game, and this backup quarterback is playing from behind, then it's just going to make it that much harder for him to even, because half of the game plan that they're going to put in for him is out the window.
Yeah.
Once you go down 10, 14 points or whatever. So unless the Rams defenses and Ramsey, we both have loved Jalen Ramsey since he got in the NFL. This year, he's been lights out, best corner in football. But I wouldn't even throw the ball his way. Like I'm going everywhere but to him, Now, I feel like if he's going to be matched up on DK, they still have to take their shots deep with DK. I just feel like DK, I don't want to say is that good right now, but he's that big and he's that fast and he's that athletic. That if he's downfield, 40, 50 yards downfield, you have to give him a chance for a ball.
And I disagree. I disagree. I like what you said at first. Just stay away from Jalen Ramsey. Because my main reason for that is because I think I've said this to you earlier this season. I still feel like at this point, Tyler Lockett is still the better wide receiver on the team. He's still the best wide receiver to me at this point. So even if DK Metcalf is being taken out of the game, I feel like your best wide receiver is still, being matched up by whoever.
And you know what? You're right. I can go with Tyler Lockett being an overall better or just as good as receiver as DK right now. I can take that. However, DK has something that Lockett doesn't have. And it's not that Lockett is slow. It's just that DK is just that gifted. He's that athletic that once the ball is in his hand and he's in open space, it's a touchdown. So what I'm saying is if it's a tight ball game or whatever the case is, a back and forth ball game, Yeah, you got to give DK. You got to give him a shot, man. Even if Jalen Ramsey's on him. Now, if we up 10, we up 13, whatever. Even up 7, I mean, cool, stay away from him.
Yeah,
But yeah, if it's a ball game and we going back and forth, and I got that guy downfield, I'm taking, because I think I think it was the first game he drew a big flag on Jalen Ramsey downfield for like 40, 50 yards downfield the
yeah.
first time they played this year.
And my point is just that the rest of their receiving core is good enough to where if you actually wanted to just we just going to avoid Jalen Ramsey all game to be comfortable enough to do that,
Yeah.
especially with how we talked about earlier how well he's performed against the best wide receivers in the game this year.
Right.
Go ahead and get your money elsewhere because you can.
Yeah, I think DK, and I'm a stat guru. Yeah, I think DK finished with 88 catches, 1,400 yards, and about 8 or 10 touchdowns. And ain't none of that come on. Ain't much of that didn't come on Jalen Ramsey when they played times this year. Yeah.
So and Seattle dealt with a good amount of injuries early on in the season too, and they've been able to get pretty healthy towards the end here. So getting Chris Carson back, Greg Olsen been back out there, like those guys. Yeah, I think Seattle's going to be able to pull that out, and like you say, it's going to be by more than the 4 too.
Yeah. So the next game. You got something else about this one?
No, you good. You good.
Okay, I was just gonna move on to the next game of the day, which will be the final game of the day. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Washington, Saturday. I don't have the spread in front of me, but I'm more than sure Tampa is probably -6.
I got 8.5.
8.5.
Yeah,
I would have went -6, -6.5. It's hard to say that they don't cover. It's hard for me to say that Tampa don't cover. It's hard. Watching Washington against Philly, a team that don't have much, it was clear the only time their offense looked even halfway decent was when Alex Smith got rid of the ball within 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Our DBs and our backers don't have further go. They don't have much to worry about if you're only getting rid of the ball in 2 seconds. I think that's going to actually help Tampa because the weakness of Tampa defense is their secondary. When you do take 4 seconds or so to throw the ball. But if they're going to come out and get rid of the ball that fast and keep everything in front of Tampa Bay's defense, I think that actually plays into Tampa's defensive hands. So Tom Brady, and I know Washington front 7 is ridiculously good.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even say they're underrated at this point. I think the world, if you follow football, you know how good, you know how good this front 7 can be. However, we know what happens when you continually give Tom Brady more and more chances with the ball. I don't care how good your defense start off or is. If your offense can't put up points and we just keep giving Brady the ball, he's going to figure it out sooner or later. So I would go with Tampa Bay. They have their run game is good enough. We all know about their receivers. Of course, they probably be without Mike Evans.
Yeah.
But I think in the course of 4 quarters, I can see them covering this game.
And I'm going to take Tampa Bay as well. I'm not taking them on the points though. I think 8.5. 8.5 is too much for me to be comfortable with. When the only reason, to be honest with you, because the only reason I'm taking them is because Alex Smith is Washington's quarterback. If they had any slightly better quarterback, I would probably take Washington in this game. Tampa Bay is so inconsistent. What's up?
The skill position. So you saying Alex Smith is your concern, but what about the lack of receivers that Washington have too to threaten Tampa's secondary?
Well, if McLaurin is going to play, McLaurin has had an amazing season. I haven't seen that he's been out.
Yeah, I thought he's out.
Because didn't he play Saturday? Oh, it's Sunday.
Sunday, but he was hurt. And he went out of that ball game.
Yeah. So if he's out, then we got something else to talk about because then their best receiving option is Logan Thomas, who has had a decent season as well.
Yeah, he really has. Especially
he's not somebody you can really depend to really carry a load like that. Then the X factor for Washington becomes Antonio Gibson if he's going to play. and how much he can give them.
Yeah.
But once again, like I said, Tampa Bay has been so inconsistent this season that I see this being a game where Washington is able to stick around because Tampa Bay, for some reason, doesn't catch fire until late third quarter, early fourth quarter, and then they're able to, really put some separation in between them. But I think early on this is going to be a low scoring game, but a good game because of the matchup between that Washington defense and that Tampa Bay offense. But like you said, the fact that Washington's offense may not be able to produce enough points, that's going to be the reason Tampa Bay is going to be able to take off on them.
Yeah, and what's so crazy is out of all the games that take place Saturday with the point spreads, this is one that I am most comfortable taking at 7 or 8 points just because the lack of from Washington. Even if everyone was healthy from Washington, I just don't like the fact that they feel like they have to get rid of the ball from Alex Smith that fast.
Oh, that's something I wanted to touch on too. Because you referred to Sunday, that being their game plan, which of course it does because of how that Philly defensive line can be. But once again, we've seen times of Tampa Bay's defensive line this year not being able to get any pressure. I
was about to say a lot of games we've seen them not get pressure.
So they might actually go into this game with a game plan of, look, Alex Smith, you're going to have time. Look to find somebody because once again, this is a secondary that also isn't good.
See it every time that man threw the ball, he raised that right leg up, bro. I don't know. He just looked so uncertain about somebody touching that leg, man. Like I'm telling y'all, if you go back and really look at his throws.
And that's because he ended up hurting it again a few weeks ago. So you just gotta, I don't know. Like I say, I think the fear of Philly's defensive line is one way stronger of this Tampa Bay defensive line that they're gonna see, and he might be way more comfortable with holding on to the ball a little longer.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so, man.
To figure it out.
Okay. Sunday's first game would be what I think would be a good game, which is the Ravens and Titans. Man, it's so much for me to talk about this game simply because the Ravens, a lot of people might not know, but the Ravens, you're not supposed to have two favorite teams, but some of my favorite players have played for the Ravens, which make me quietly root for the Ravens in the AFC. And last year they were taken out of the playoffs by the Titans, who caught fire. And the Titans and the Ravens was two of the most interesting teams for me in this offseason. I was glued in to see what they were going to do because I felt like both teams were so close to making it to the Super Bowl. So I'm super excited. I'm happy that this game is at 12 o'clock. I'm going to have everything squared away by 11:15 on Sunday to make sure I'm in front of the TV. But how do you see this one playing out?
So, honestly, I'd probably say my second favorite player in the league right now is probably Derrick Henry. And it's been like that.
I remember I was about to say you was big on Henry coming into the league.
And honestly, that's the difference between these two teams. Like, this is one of those games where, in basketball, we look at it a lot and say, look, well, the Lakers got LeBron and this other team don't. That's how I feel about Derrick Henry going into the match. Tennessee has Derrick Henry, Baltimore doesn't. We talk about the lack of size Baltimore has in their linebacking core, but they make up for it in speed. But speed not going to help you here with Derrick Henry. Yeah. Ryan Tannehill has been on a tear. Honestly, quietly. The last 2 seasons, like I can't even
quietly though.
Yeah,
quietly. People don't say nothing about it. And then when you call his name out, his numbers is so much better than what people are used to them being. They go, but it's Ryan Tannehill. I'm like, bruh, have you seen what he's been doing since Tennessee has got him?
And he's doing it through the air and on the ground.
Right.
And then a receiver that you're really big on, AJ Brown. Mm-hmm. And then a receiver that I've been big on, Corey Davis. Like, they have the weapons. They have so many weapons on offense, and you know that their defense is going to show up as well. I feel like Baltimore, like I say, that linebacker core is just too small. That linebacker core is just too small, and I think Tennessee will be able to come up with more stops than they will.
Yeah. So I think the Titans have certain players on defense that play well almost every week. But I think collectively the Titans defense have taken a step back these last couple weeks. They've been giving up a lot of points and a lot of yards these last couple weeks, to the point where, to be honest, I don't even trust Tennessee defense, because for one, they don't have a pass rush, and for two, they don't stop the run. So those two things don't go together. The only thing that helps them in this situation is I don't see Lamar Jackson going out there Sunday and throwing the ball all over the field.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that gives me any confidence in Tennessee's defense this Sunday.
And to me, it's crazy because last year when they met up in the playoffs, I want to say Tennessee ended up winning the game 28-12. But that's a game where Lamar Jackson went out and threw for 300 yards and then added another 100 on the ground and lost 28-12.
Because he turned it over 2 or 3 times.
And I feel like that's going to be the case. Tennessee ends this season still leading the league in turnover differential for another year. And like you said, that's without a pass rush.
Right.
The receivers that Baltimore have, none of them are special. We figured Hollywood Brown would be, but something, I don't know if it's the connection between him and Lamar Jackson or what, but he doesn't even seem to get as many chances as he
don't, for real.
And he definitely not getting as much as he wants. He's voiced that part.
Yep.
So once again, it comes down to it's Mark Andrews or nothing. And then it's Lamar Jackson being able to run the football or nothing. Like I'm looking at they finished 32nd in pass yards this year. So and then you never know which one of their running backs are one going to be available. And then for two, which one is going to actually show up. So
I'm going to say if they're going to even do something. Yep, you're right, man.
So it's hard for me to not take Tennessee. I'm honestly shocked that Baltimore is -3.
Yeah. And I think the only reason why you said who?
Baltimore
is -3?
-3. Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I got.
Yeah, and the only thing I can say is because Tennessee defense has been that bad lately, man. But and we touched on Ryan Tannehill's his brilliancy since playing for Tennessee, but it all starts with Derrick Henry. Everything that he does comes off of Derrick Henry. So if you're going to allow Derrick Henry to even be somewhat effective, I'm not talking about busting 50 and 60-yard runs and stiff arming everybody. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about if you're going to allow him to average 4 yards a carry, Ryan Tannehill is going to be pretty good. It's just that simple, you know? So, and Lamar Jackson, he's not, I mean, he has yet to win a playoff game, you know? So it's hard for me to say this is going to be the game. Sure, your team can't stop the run. Sure, your team, you know, you don't throw the ball all over the field, but this is going to be the game you win. I have too much respect for Tennessee for their coaching staff and, you know, for what they do almost each Sunday to take Baltimore over Tennessee right here.
Exactly. And this is the second half of the season into the playoffs is when Derrick Henry is at his best. He builds up
the later the better.
Game to game. Yep. The later it is in the season, the harder he runs. And I just think go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm listening to you.
Oh, yeah. I just think that he's the difference. Like I say, Tennessee has Derrick Henry, Baltimore doesn't. And that's gonna be the difference.
I will say this right quick. One interesting thing about the Ravens, they were very active in the offseason. They signed everybody who has a history at stopping the run. Every defensive player that they signed was to stop the run. They geared their whole offseason around beating the Tennessee Titans, and I love that. Me and Herm spoke about it when it first happened, and I was like, look, just because they signed all these guys, this isn't basketball.
Yeah.
It's not going to work like that. Like, no, they got to play, they got to gel, they got to understand they all have to be on one accord in order to be able to stop the run, especially the way that Tennessee runs the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see the intensity that the Ravens defense come out with, because like I said, everybody who they got was brought in for one thing, and that's to stop the run. So I'm looking forward to that one.
And then, of course, the second game on Sunday we already touched, which is Chicago Bears against us. Yep. And then the late game, which I think will probably this is the game I'm most looking forward to this weekend is the Cleveland Browns against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh is -6 going into this game, and of course they just played. Yeah, and of course they just played last week. Minus Big Ben. So what you looking at in this one?
It's crazy because this is one of those games that I would have thought Pittsburgh would be +1, +2, maybe 3 at the most, but 6. That seems to be a lot. And I understand a lot of people still don't have faith in Baker Mayfield. Cleveland starts and ends on running the football.
Yep.
To me, it seemed like their defense have not been as good as they were last year, but Myles Garrett was my defensive player of the year until he got COVID. To me, he just never recovered fully from that.
And the secondary has been depleted since week 1.
It has. It really has. But Pittsburgh has had their issues too on offense.
Yeah.
We spoke about their inability to run the football consistently, and the world know how bad their receivers are with drops and everything else. So, this is a tough one. I ain't gonna lie. This is probably the toughest one to pull.
And then, of course, earlier we got the news about the coaches getting COVID.
The coaching staff for Cleveland. Yeah, but I'm saying
the starting guard is out.
Yeah, even with the guard start, even with the full coaching staff, because they got the coach. Some of the coaches got COVID, won't be available, and we know the head coach won't be there. But even if they were, I would still take Pittsburgh simply because experience.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a pretty game for either club, but I think Pittsburgh have enough to get it done and win. I would take Pittsburgh by 1 or 2, no more than 3, though.
Yeah.
I don't have them covering the spread.
And this is going to be the first one we've gone opposite of. I'm going to take Cleveland. I'm going to take Cleveland in this game.
Ooh.
You know how everybody feels about this run game with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Mm-hmm. And Baker Mayfield, I don't care what anybody say, Baker Mayfield has looked so much better ever since Odell Beckham got hurt, which is such a weird thing. It's such a weird thing, and I don't know exactly, what lends to that. But he's looked like a completely different quarterback ever since Odell Beckham got hurt. They have the weapons. Like you say, they have one of the best pass rushers on defense, and they're going up against Pittsburgh receivers. Don't get us wrong. Pittsburgh receivers are good. Those are good receivers. Chase Claypool can get ahead of you in a second. Juju Smith, he's becoming one of the best route runners, honestly. It's just, will they hold on to the football? Will they hold on to the football when they run it, and then there's no threat of worrying about Pittsburgh running the football? So that makes them so one-dimensional. And do I believe in Big Ben sitting back and throwing the football 40 times in January and being able to beat a team? Maybe. He can maybe do it. I just can't count on that right now. I think Cleveland is going to have success running the football, even though Pittsburgh has been decent against it throughout this year. I think Cleveland will be successful running the football, and I think there'll be chances for them to take shots that they will actually be able to succeed on. I don't see them winning by much, honestly. Like I said, I can see it being a 3-point game, but I think Cleveland pulls it out.
And you know what? I can't although I have Pittsburgh winning, I'm not super surprised by you picking Cleveland for the simple fact I have Pittsburgh winning, but I don't have them covering.
Yeah,
I think you said the spread is only 3.
They're -6. Pittsburgh is
-6.
Yeah.
See, I have them winning by no more than 3.
Yeah,
like at the most. So I got Pittsburgh, but it's not by much. So that's just one that it's just enough variables there for us to feel differently on. I can respect that. Yeah.
And that's the only one we feel differently about when it comes out to the straight out winner this week. So that's it for the Wildcard weekend. Did you want to talk anything about the coach carousel that's begun? Starting, I want to say starting Sunday, but it really seemed like it started last Friday. Like,
they got a lot of coaches out there right now. I'm not surprised that nobody got fired. I'm more waiting to see who gets hired more than who gets fired. So I'm good as of right now. What you got about for coaches?
The only thing that has shocked me thus far is Urban Meyer being a serious candidate and then looking like he actually going to step into that position in Jacksonville. But everything else, I think it was on par. We talked about it being about 6 or 7 vacancies
Mm-hmm.
after this season, and the only one that I saw that I was like, maybe that's going to be one was Minnesota, and Minnesota decided to keep riding with Zimmer. But everybody
Mm-hmm.
else, man, you talked about it and saw them
Yeah.
being, being let go.
Yeah.
Um, I want to ask you this: what do you think is the best opening right
I
now?
was I was thinking about that in my head, but what all teams are open as of right now?
So
I know
we
you
get,
got the Jags,
yeah,
you have
the Jets,
the Jets,
the
Detroit,
Falcons, the
the
Lions,
Falcons, the
the Texans,
Lions, the Texans,
the Chargers,
Chargers.
and I want to say that's it. It's
I
those
would
six.
definitely I would definitely go Chargers.
Agreed.
Definitely. And it's to me, it's not even close. Simply because you have something in skill positions already. They definitely need to fix their O line. They can use a little bit more depth overall. But knowing you have a quarterback with a bright future, a kid with a strong arm who can move, and even with a bad O line, look what he done. I mean,
Yeah,
I think he only won 5 or 6 games, but a lot of games they lost. I want to say 3 or 4 of them was by 7 points or
I
less.
think it's more than that.
So
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely has a bright future, and even and that's what I was talking about coaches. I'm more excited to see what coaches get a chance to
Hmm.
coach,
Yeah.
get a job. The better coaches, I just want to see them step into a situation where they have something in the cover. They're not taking over a team that's completely empty.
Exactly.
So I will go Chargers, and then after Chargers, I will probably take the Texans simply because I believe in Deshaun Watson so much that I feel like if he gets a defense and somewhat of an offensive scheme, not players, but an
Yeah.
actual scheme where we know what we're doing. We have a running back or a group of running backs that we can count on to average 80 to 90 yards a game and things of that nature.
Yeah.
I believe in Deshaun that much. So I'm going to go the Chargers job or the Chargers team, and then I'll go with the Texans.
And then we're 100%. We're on the same page when it comes to the Chargers. But my second one would be the Falcons.
I feel
Um,
like our division too good.
the Houston Drew Brees is retiring. We're in cap hell going into next
Okay.
season, and so
Mm-hmm.
you're looking at it as okay. Well, Tampa Bay, if Tampa Bay is the measuring stick, that could be met going into next season. In
Okay.
my
But
opinion on that.
I got you. That makes sense. The only thing about Atlanta, which you know how I feel about them, I feel like they need to clean house, which means it's not just the coach. I feel like it's also the players.
See, yeah,
Um,
and we feel
yeah.
differently about that. I think it's a culture change that's needed in Atlanta, not necessarily a player thing. Because, like I say, the majority of their best players are still young. They're real young players.
Mm-hmm.
That if you
Mm-hmm.
give them a culture change, if you give them a better scheme to execute, they'll be able to do so. And of course, avoid injuries going forward. Because these
Yeah.
past 2 years has been horrible for them injury wise.
Yeah.
The thing I have against Houston is their lack of draft picks. Like I say,
Yeah.
no
Mm-hmm.
first rounder, no second rounder. You're gonna have to make a decision on JJ Watt. I think they've given up draft picks even for next year at this point as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a quick turnaround. Like I say you want one of these coaches who we think will really be a good coach being put in a good situation. But in this situation, outside of Deshaun Watson, there isn't much good that's going to be immediate for a coach to
Yeah.
work with in Houston.
And see, I think he's so good that it wouldn't take much. What I think Houston was so bad to me. They were one of the worst teams. And I think they only won 5 games or so, but they were so bad. But they play hard. It's a difference.
Yeah,
We just have lack of players. When you look at Atlanta having
it's the
all these
opposite. They
leads,
have the
yeah,
players that gonna play hard. Yeah.
right. And I'm saying to the point where it's laughable. This season was laughable for the Falcons. I mean, you had
Hmm.
the DE crying to get out. What's his name? McKinley, who was crying to get
Yeah.
out, and all this good stuff get traded. And like I said, they had so many 4 quarter letdowns and teams
Yep.
coming back. Tampa Bay just this weekend. Man, that's players just like Dallas. I have Dallas in the same situation. It's not a coach. it's the players as well. They need a better
And I
coach.
feel like those situations are different. I feel like
Yeah.
those situations are different. Because even in Dallas, on the offensive side of the ball, the players are there. It's the defense that's really killing Dallas. But like I said, in Atlanta, the players are there. Injuries have played a part. Like I said, that culture just wasn't the same after letting down that Super Bowl, which sucks. Like you hate to say it, that
Yeah.
you get I want to say that was his first year coaching that team, and they
Hmm.
ended up taking him to the Super Bowl, and he
Hmm.
reached his peak early, and then that was it.
Yeah.
So I really think the culture change there will be able to shift what it is they have going on,
They're gonna
even
need
in a strong NFC South.
they're gonna need a hell of a coach because you know how I feel about Kyle. I feel like wherever Kyle goes, success is gonna follow him. Obviously, he left Atlanta, went to San Francisco, and they went to the Super Bowl. I just believe in his system. Like you
Yeah.
say, every good free agent quarterback, I say need to go where? San Francisco. That's how much I believe in that man, bro. So I coaching can fix Atlanta. It got to be a hell of a coach, but they can fix Atlanta. But I also think they need to clean house because the players there they're not winners.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. I think they get the best coach, honestly, because like I say, outside of the Chargers, I do think they have the best. They have the
Hmm.
best situation set up
Overall,
there.
yeah.
So if they can mess around and get Eric Bieniemy to buy into what they have there, I think that definitely puts them on the right track.
Okay. Before we end, I had a few quick hitter questions for you, just getting your
Okay.
opinions. First, we're going to go defensive player of the year. Who you have for defensive player of the year?
I feel like TJ Watt is a sure thing for it.
I feel like, yeah, and that's my choice. I feel like
Yeah.
if any corner, I don't care how many in the he could have had 20. I feel like if a corner is going to get it, it was going to be Jalen Ramsey this year. He's just been that brilliant. But TJ Watt to me is the runaway defensive player of the year. Like I
Yeah.
said, I had Myles Garrett, I want
Hmm.
to say entering week 13, 14, right before he came down with COVID.
Yeah.
But TJ Watt, if you look at forget numbers. If you just look at what he brings and what he means to that team, him making plays every single game, and when they need him the most, he show up. And that's with everybody else going down for Pittsburgh. He was still able to anchor that defense long enough for them to have one of the better defenses in the league and win a bunch of games. So my pick, I'm going TJ Watt. My next will be Coach of the Year. Who you got?
Coach of the year. I want to. I'm gonna go Brian Flores. I'm gonna go
Okay.
Brian Flores. I really like what he was able. First of all, I feel like he should have been a contention for it last year, even though they only won a handful of games when they
Mm-hmm.
were expected to go 0-16 last year. And then he
Mm-hmm.
turned around this year and has a winning season, a 10-game winning season, and last game of the year, you're in a position to make the playoffs. And on
Okay.
top of that, we've talked about it before how he wasn't afraid to go with the better hand, trying to bring along a rookie quarterback, but also throwing in that bridge quarterback because of the maturity and the wisdom that quarterback has that could give him something different. And that's hard to
Mm-hmm.
do, to be willing to shake a rookie quarterback's confidence in order to
Yeah.
make sure you're still winning games.
I
So I
got you.
definitely think he did a great job with that.
So he was my second selection. And you might look at me a little crazy on this one, who my coach of the year is. But I'm going Andy Reid. I think when it comes to Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes, we have already come accustomed to their greatness and we take it for granted.
Yeah,
And I just don't think people realize what he was able to do this year with his team. A year where COVID's going on and everybody's in and out. You may have this guy this week, you don't have him this week. All
yeah,
the uncertainties floating around the NFL because they had to deal with COVID as well.
yeah,
You're the defending champs, the target's on your back, and you come out and really lose one game. I mean, they lost two, but I mean, no
yeah,
starters played week 17. So you lose, even if you want to say you lose two games, that's phenomenal. That's
yeah,
phenomenal to do this year. If they had Pat Mahomes, I'm sure they would have won week 17. If you have Pat, and I won't speak about Pat, I'll hold off on him. But to have your team geared, you already don't have a great defense. And then, every offense that we see that has been as special as KC's, the more tape we have on them, the more we know how to play these guys, the less their production is. They was just as explosive, if not more explosive.
yeah.
So This is the third year that Kansas City will host the divisional playoff game at their building. That's never been done before. They have a pedigree for winning. And I think Andy Reid should be in contention for Coach of the Year. I don't think he's going to get it just because, like you said, you got Brian Phillips who turned the Dolphins over pretty much. It's hard to overlook the Cinderella story, but I think Andy Reid should get a little bit more love.
And I definitely can't disagree with that. It's the same thing. Like you say, we've gotten there so quickly with them. What is it, 3 years now?
Yeah.
We've gotten there so quickly. That's a place that we lived with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick for all those years, know? So yeah, I could definitely see the Andy Reid thing.
Yeah. Takes me to my next one, MVP. I'm more than sure everybody that's in the running.
Yeah. And I told you last week, like, I hate for this to even be who I feel like wins MVP because I've never been a serious fan of him, but I think it's Aaron Rodgers. It's impossible. I mean, not impossible because Patrick Mahomes went out there and he did his thing. But for Aaron Rodgers to still be playing at the level that he's playing at, what did he finish with? Because I don't know what he had last week, but I know going into last week, it was like 37 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Because I want to say he had Pat beating the interceptions by a couple.
And I think it was more than that going into
touchdowns or interceptions.
Touchdowns.
Yeah. So, but I know he had 4 interceptions, and I know he was right around that 40 mark. When it came to touchdowns.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's not even including what he did this past week.
Yeah.
The dude hasn't lost anything. Like we've had all this talk about how the talent around him hasn't been that great for years and how his offensive line hasn't been that great. Man, the dude's still showing up. He's still playing amazing football. And Patrick Mahomes is right there with him. But to me, honestly, it's just more impressive that Aaron Rodgers at his age is still doing that.
And this is one that we agree on. I got Rodgers at MVP too. I don't know why I think he has 48 touchdowns, Sid. I think it's 48. I think he ended the year.
It might be.
Because I know for sure that he has more touchdowns than the punter had attempts to punt this year. I think the punter. I
saw that earlier. I think.
So I think he finished with 48, and the punter had 46 punts this year. But he only had a handful of interceptions. It was like 9 interceptions or something like that, which is ridiculous. And like we spoke about earlier this year, he has yet to throw 40. He still has yet to throw 100 interceptions on his career. That's just how careful he is with the football. So he finished top 6 or 7 in yards. He finished first in touchdowns. He won 13 games this year, 14 or 13. I think 13. 13.
We won what? 12.
No, he won. Yeah, we won 12. They won.
13. We won 12, so they won 13. Yep.
He won 13 games last year as well, if I'm not mistaken. But it's simply Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
I got Rodgers.
And we talked about this outside of the show. If Drew Brees didn't miss games, I think Alvin Kamara would have ended up winning MVP, or absolutely having. He absolutely would have finished second. He would have won Offensive Player of the Year. And he would have finished second in MVP voting. He's the only the only non-quarterback this year to finish with 20 plus touchdowns. And that's with him missing last week's game. And then, like I say, the Drew Brees games, which he ended up missing 5? He missed 5 again this year. And those 5 games that hurt Alvin Kamara's touches and his ability to really affect the game. Because of the team that they were running with Taysom Hill. So if you're telling me that Drew Brees played the full season, even without Drew Brees playing the full season, Kamara had over 1,500 plus yards and 20 plus touchdowns. So just imagine what it would have been if he didn't miss the last game of the season and Drew Brees didn't miss 5 in the middle of the season.
I got you.
It would have really been more of a historical season than what it already was for him.
I got you. I can see that. Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Jefferson Herbert. Yeah,
Um,
Justin Jefferson definitely played very, very like he was the best receiver out of that draft class this year, and
mm,
he put up a great season. But Justin Herbert is the quarterback. Like it usually comes down to who's the quarterback. And if I
yeah.
look at it and say their seasons were comparable, you give it to the quarterback. So Justin Herbert.
And you know what? I have it too, 1 and 2, but I got it the other way around.
Okay.
I like Justin Jefferson. The season he had at the receiver position a little bit more than and you know how I feel about Justin Herbert the year he's had.
Yeah.
But at the receiver position, because Kirk Cousins isn't like a great quarterback, and
Mm-hmm.
I think Jefferson finished with 88 catches. Don't quote me. I think he had 88 catches, 1,400 yards even, and I want to say 8 or 9 touchdowns. That's
Yeah.
a hell of a year for. I know he broke Randy Moss
Franchise.
rookie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he had a great year, man, and he was matched up against some pretty good corners. It got to the point where he was drawing the #1 corner, but he got quiet during the last couple games of
Mm,
the year,
yeah.
which really hurt him. Because if not, man, he would have had a monster year. Which he still had a monster year, but it really would have been something special
Yeah.
to see from him. But if they give it to Justin Herbert, I wouldn't be mad. It's just, personal opinion. I'm going Jefferson.
Yeah, I got you. And like I said, they're definitely 1 and 2 in this conversation.
Yeah.
Whichever way you want
Yep.
to look at it.
hmm Well, that's all that I have said. Is there anything else that you have to cover for this past week?
Nope, that is it for this week. We did um do an episode yesterday on the NBA. And
Yes.
we invited
Yes.
in
Great
a guest.
episode.
Yeah, we invited in a guest and we did a 30-minute NBA episode that we will be putting out outside of this episode here this week. So definitely be looking for that.
Yep. It was a great episode. All B-ball talk. Great guest, my boy Tony. He stopped by, dropped some knowledge on us, and we appreciate him for it. So until next episode, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Stay safe and enjoy football this weekend.